Or singing? I see movement.
Yeah.
It's a catchy little song at the end.
Beetle, beetle, black coat star.
What was in that holy water?
The angels, they forgot her.
Hello, and welcome to Spooky Sips, where we put our love of horror movies into a podcast and sip some spirits along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Yvette, here with my co-hosts, Laura and Brianna.
Hello.
Hey. Okay, so this episode is kind of fun because we went with a fan vote for what we're watching. We asked our Instagram followers back in, I think, December. And one of them gave us a great suggestion. Her handle is Literary Love 123. We'll tag her on the post on Instagram, but she suggested The Blackcoat's Daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So I had seen this when it came out. I actually think I went to the theater to see this,
Mm-hmm.
but I hadn't seen it since, and like I was hazy on what it is. But it's what the setup is. We've got this stranded girl that is looking for a ride on the same weekend that these other two girls are just kind of stranded at their, boarding school, essentially waiting for their families to come get them. And we get the vibe that there's something sinister brewing underneath.
Mm-hmm.
It's very wintry. It's very cold. It's in February.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I was realizing because I think we are releasing this episode February 21st. Is that correct?
January.
Oh, never mind.
I know. I totally thought the exact same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, we're releasing it.
Because I even wrote down, I was like, we're releasing this tomorrow.
I know.
This is where my brain is. I'm just ready for January to be over so bad.
It's the longest month.
That in my brain, I've turned it to be February already.
Yeah. Yep.
That's hilarious. Okay.
No, I was like, same thing. I was like, oh my gosh. I paused to check the date.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. Well,
so had either of you seen it?
No. Honestly, when you mentioned it, very loosely rang a bell, but I knew pretty much nothing about this movie.
Yeah, same. I hadn't heard of it, and I'm surprised because I feel like over the last, basically since 2015, since this movie came out, I've seen so much that has both Emma Roberts and Kiernan Shipka in it. And they're both in this, along with a ton of other people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised. Yeah.
Yes. And it came out, 2015.
15.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that was interesting with this movie. It premiered in 2015 in the Toronto Film Festival, but it actually didn't get released in the US until March of 2017.
Okay.
So it had a very, very slow release. Where it started in 2015. They hit a few more festivals here and there, and then it eventually got put into theaters by A24. But it took 2 years. So technically 2015, but here in the US, we didn't really get it until 2017.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
But that's prime time. I was watching horror movies during that time. This is exactly something that I would have liked watching. I'm surprised I hadn't heard anything about it.
Same.
Yeah, I will say it is a much quieter and slower movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not action packed.
No.
And I think that may have, you got to be good with that kind of horror movie. Some people love their horror movies intense and loud and crazy. And then others are very much not that. So yeah.
Yeah. I had kind of noted that there was, I paused it. I paused the movie and I realized there's about 30 minutes left. And I thought to myself, I know stuff's about to go down, but it's been a whole hour where really not much has happened. And they're going to squeeze it all in the very last half an hour. And they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it is. I think the movie's only an hour and a half long, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a long hour and a half. And honestly, I'm not even saying that as a bad thing. I actually really liked this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was just it was the perfect winter spooky vibes. You just want spooky vibes. I feel like I'm going to watch this movie again.
Yeah.
Because it's just a good spooky atmosphere. No crazy slasher, super gory or anything. It's just a good spooky vibe in the winter.
Agreed. And I will say the acting was so good. Like, I feel like every character, even the ones, because actually there's really not that much as far as cast goes. Like, there's not that many people in the movie, but everyone was so good in the way that they played their parts.
Yeah.
And it really helped.
I feel like especially Kiernan Shipka, like she crushed.
Her face.
She was so good. Like her expression, she plays spooky so well. And like I remember seeing an interview with her, because again, this movie took a long time to like be made. So I think she had kind of like just wrapped with Mad Men. For anyone who watched that, she was in it for the longest time.
I think of her. That's like how I know her.
When she was in it, starting when she was like 6 years old or something. Like it was like child actor through teenager. And so the show had like wrapped, and it was like, okay, well, who am I now that Mad Men is over? So this was one of the things that, you know, she did after Mad Men. And like, talk about transition. Like she crushed this.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite the departure from her role there.
Honestly, if you're going to do it, just go hard. Like, fully support that. All right. So, you know, though, it's so funny because really in the movie, like, if you boil it down, there's some car scenes and there's some scenes at the school. And that's pretty much it. So I'm kind of like, wait, I don't even really remember the order, like how this movie even starts. I'm like, I don't remember how this movie started.
Yeah. I do feel like we should talk about the very, very beginning, because that to me was like, whoa, wait, what's happening? I think I literally just wrote down like, whoa, wait, like what's going on?
I couldn't tell if it was a dream.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was almost thinking, I don't know if we want to do a dream analysis, but that seemed like a dream, right? We saw her like wake up.
Yeah.
We saw her like kind of be in bed. So it seemed like a dream or a memory kind of thing. But we see, what's her name?
Catherine.
And she's calling to like her dad.
Yeah.
Who's, you know, we expect to be picking her up. And they go outside and we see a car that has been like crashed into, like it had been in an accident. And then is it her mom inside the car? And
I
just
think
her mom,
so.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you see the hair and
And that's
just
like one of the first scenes.
There's like a lot of ambient noise. Like it's just very heavy. And
like the noise and music and just vibe throughout the whole movie, but especially just to start it out, just puts you like in that creepy vibe.
Yeah.
And then she then just wakes up and she's just, the way she just quietly moves everywhere in this movie is so creepy. And she just goes over to her calendar and she crosses off, because in 2 days on February 22nd is when mom and dad come, because they're like at a boarding school. So the parents are going to come and they're going to get them for like a February break, and there's going to be a recital.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Because she goes to the headmaster's office, right? Isn't that okay? Yes. And they're in their little outfits, their little uniforms.
Right. Yes, I'm happy you mentioned the outfits, because before we get the little like the full uniform, you know, the plaid skirt thing, we see her outside wearing a blue coat and like the yellow hat, where I don't even remember if this was part of the dream, where she's like looking down the road.
Right.
But the inspiration for this I thought was kind of funny. The writer and director for the movie really liked Madeline growing up. Did you ever watch those little cartoons?
That is exactly what I thought when I saw it. Oh my gosh. That's so cute. I have a note I was like, oh my God, it's Madeline. Like,
yes, that was the inspiration. You know, the little French boarding school with the 12 little girls.
In 12 and 2 lines.
So that was the inspiration. Like that was not even the inspiration, but like it was on the mind. He knew he wanted the boarding school setting. And so that kind of came in, and he told like costume design, like it was like, I want her to look like Madeline at the beginning. I want the blue coat and the yellow hat.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, she did. She just looked very sweet and young and innocent.
But yeah, I just had to make that note because that was such a unexpected inspiration.
And it's so we like she has, so I didn't analyze that, because my feeling on that was that it was either a vision given to her by, devil or demon,
Mhm.
or a hallucination,
Yeah.
depending on which psych route we're going to go down.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
didn't analyze that because I felt like afterwards I was like, I don't think that is a dream because she keeps having these kind of visions.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I agree. I didn't really think it
Mhm.
felt like a dream,
it
especially at
felt-
the beginning. It almost felt like a memory.
Yeah.
Yes.
But a vision. I agree. I don't
It-
think it was
it
quite
kind
a
of-
dream.
Right. It kind of like it made me wonder though. Like I wrote down all of the things to analyze in case it turned out that it was a dream.
Yes.
But
So
yeah,
she goes to the headmaster's office and like it's just there's a lot of like tension in the air
such a weird dynamic.
because like
just
he's
long
talking about her
pauses.
like her family is coming
Mhm.
and I don't even know why did he even call her in there like just
Right, because he's talking about how he's leaving to go to Albany.
yeah but she's
Like-
like upset that he won't be there and I use the word upset but that's not the right word. She's like confused maybe that he won't be there, and so she kind of like pushes him and is like, well, you could come back in time, like if you could get there you could be back here, like
For her recital.
yeah, for her recital. So like it's this weird chemistry between them where she's
My thought was like, oh, maybe they're like really close. I mean, again, it's like a boarding school, right? It's like their parents aren't there. Like
Right.
it was like maybe it's just like, oh, they're kind of close, so they would check in
right
before a break. Was
Yeah.
kind of my thought.
Then there was also like these weird moments where she's kind of like challenging him but quietly. Like she's not like actively grilling him, but
right.
But then at other times she kind of stares off and she starts to laugh like something's, but it's not like a cute laugh. It's like a kind of like an evil laugh.
Yeah, but it's not like a crazy laugh. It's just
Not
this
yet.
really quiet. It's like an inside joke with herself is happening.
Yes. It's like,
no, that's a good way to
yes.
describe it. And like she does this thing where she like looks to the side a lot, like where it's like clearly she's like lying or trying to come up with something to say. Like the way that she even just like moves her eyes. It's more about what isn't said in this movie. Really.
Exactly.
So I have a theory why he called her in is that I think based off of my eventual diagnosis I'll be giving her, I think that this kind of break that she ends up having in the movie, I don't think it's the first sign that's of trouble.
No.
I think maybe she's been demonstrating kind of like some mood swings, some irritability, some signs of just kind of like some erratic behavior. So I'm thinking maybe he called her in to be like, hey, you're going to go home. I'm going to go. It's all going to be fine. Because she maybe has just been having some weirdness.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think this came completely out of nowhere.
Yeah. I feel like one thing that I also saw that I want to talk about is in the scene when she comes in, there's 2 chairs.
Yes.
So like when she's sitting next to the desk, it's like it could have just been one chair and her in the middle and they were talking, but they show you like the full frame of 2 chairs. She's sitting there and you see the empty chair next to her. So you like, again, it just adds to that feeling of like, is there someone else here? Or is there someone else that's supposed to be here? There's this empty seat next to her, that I think just like adds to, I don't know, the uneasiness of this movie. The like something else is going on, and then I'll also add, because I wanted to go back to see something. I think in this scene I like played the movie back, so I played this scene twice. And when she talks to him, I feel like this is gonna be a really good movie to rewatch, because when she talks to him, she's like, oh, like you're gonna miss my performance. Like not like the recital, not like the thing. Like she says like, oh, you're gonna miss my and we know later in the movie she wants him to come back, and we know maybe she even knew what the plan was for while she was here. So rewatching the scene, knowing what's gonna happen, I feel like made it really interesting. So I think this movie could be a good rewatch.
Totally.
And then we meet Rose.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So we meet Rose, who again also just did an amazing job of acting. She's another student at the school, and she's preggers, or she basically is talking to her friend about the fact that she's late, and it's because she and her boyfriend,
Did the deed.
Did the deed.
We also need to talk about her first scene because it's like, I mean, you immediately get like, she is the cool girl. She
Yes.
is the popular person. Like, we get her like slow mo. Like, how do I get my hair like that? Like, her hair's like perfectly placed, shiny.
The smile
Yes.
that unfolds is amazing.
Because she's walking up to get her picture taken, like
picture
school
day.
picture. And of course, it's just this beautiful, beautiful picture.
Yeah.
And she holds her head really high.
One thing to add is the actress that played Rose, she actually used that picture. Like, she asked for the picture and then used it for rail pass or something.
Nice.
Like, she just liked it. Was like,
It's
can I
a
use
good
it for
photo.
something?
It's a good photo.
Yeah, it's cute. It's a cute picture.
It really is.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get that she's like older and cooler.
And
And
I feel
then
like one thing that, again, the writer and director, which, by the way, we've seen another one of his movies. I wonder if you guys caught it, but one thing he does really well in this is like, he's not a teenage girl, but I feel like he writes them somewhat well. Like, and he said that was like, he really tried not to not to have them like over explain things. Like, at no point, I don't think she says I'm pregnant.
No.
Like, we know she is by like context. They give just enough context that it feels real and doesn't over explain it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this movie was written and directed by Oz Perkins. Does that name ring a bell at all?
It does not.
It does, but I don't know why.
It does not.
He also wrote and directed Longlegs.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
This was much better.
What happened to you, Oz?
Yeah. This was his first movie.
Oh, okay. Well,
the mighty have fallen.
Technically not his first release because, as we kind of mentioned, this movie took a long time to get it out. His first movie that was released was the I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House.
Oh,
I don't know if you ever saw that. It was on Netflix. I don't know if it came out in theaters. I remember seeing it on Netflix.
Yeah, I think it was a Netflix. I don't know.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
you know, it's now that you say that, some of just the scenery and the film,
the winter scenery
of like the cold and eerie. That was the one thing of Longlegs that I liked. So yeah.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of of his style.
But so then there's the recital.
Yeah.
And little Catherine sings her song.
It's very sweet,
but the parents are a no-show.
Right. And we have at this point also we realize that Kat's parents aren't there, and she tells a few different people different things. So we're like, what? Because like she told one person they weren't coming because of this, and then she told another person they're not coming because of this. So we're like, oh, she like wants to be here.
Yeah.
And we learned that so she can go out with her boyfriend again.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so.
Well, and I was thinking it so she could tell him, like, dude, I'm pregnant.
Right.
What are you going to do? Like, what should we do? Which, because then she ends up kind of showing that she's disappointed that, like, we don't really know why. So it's up to you to determine why you think she's disappointed. Is she disappointed because he was okay that she said she was going to get rid of it, that he didn't want to like deal with it? Like, you don't really know like why, but you just know he didn't act the way she wanted.
Yeah.
So then they're going to be left at the school, these two girls, and the, headmaster is like, I have to leave, but there's two other people that are, they're like the nuns. I don't know if they're nuns, but like.
Well, I called them the sisters because I think somebody must have called them that.
Yeah.
They've got like their little house that's just on the property next to the school. And so they're going to stay there until the girls' parents come and get them.
Yeah. And he kind of asks Rose to take care of Kat, because we learned that it's like Kat is a freshman and Rose is more like junior, senior. Like,
Yep.
But then while they're there and they're supposed to kind of, just be together or with the sisters, the nuns, Rose tells Catherine a story about the sisters that that they have no hair on their entire body.
Yeah.
Like their eyebrows are fake, and it's because it burned off because they're like devil worshippers or something. And that comes into play later.
Yes.
Which is, typical like scare the freshmen,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly.
And then she's basically like, I'm not taking care of you. You're on your own.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
Literally, don't come into my room.
yeah, like leave me alone, bye. And she goes on her date. And
So she goes on her date.
and then she, I think, wasn't it just later that night when she came back that she then it goes into her room to check on her? And that's when
Yeah.
they had the conversation where, you know, she like Rose apologized and Kat was like, it's okay, you had your chance.
Oh yeah, that's like a little. That's a little later.
Is that
Yeah,
okay?
it's a little later.
It's
Well,
a little
because
bit later.
I think it is still that night that there is a weird interaction, but before it gets to that, all of a sudden the movie jumps to we meet Joan.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it will come back to that later on that night with Kat and Rose, but then we meet Joan. We just see Joan at the bus stop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Getting off the
Looks
bus.
very cold.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't have any money. She's just like clinging to her little backpack. And she's just like sitting on a bench because she clearly like doesn't have a ride or any options.
Yeah, she tried to make a phone call. Like she had 50 cents.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they didn't answer, or the phone
number was out of service.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that was it. Like that was
so
her
then
only option.
she meets Bill, who's played by James Remar, who I just like. I always think of him as Richard from Sex and the City,
Or the lawyer in Miracle on 34th Street.
or the lawyer in Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, and she had gone into the bathroom and took a bracelet off that looks like a hospital band.
Yeah.
Yeah, she like went and
I think we even get like a tiny flashback
We
of
do.
her being in a hospital.
Yes.
And it's hard to tell if it's a medical hospital or a mental hospital. It's hard to tell what it is.
Yeah.
But yes,
the vibe feels like it's probably mental hospital,
Yeah.
but nothing is ever explicitly said.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think it could have been both because she was probably in both for some time.
Right.
Yeah. Fair.
But yeah, so when she meets Bill and then Bill's wife, what was her name?
Helen or something like that?
Oh, Linda.
Oh, Linda? I don't know.
Linda.
Helen,
That
Linda.
Motto.
Linda is played by, her name is Lauren Holly. I just know her from Mary from Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know her.
Yeah. I didn't
She's in
recognize
Dumb
her.
and Dumber, and I was like, oh my gosh. We need to add that to Spooky Sips. It can be silly sips.
What, Dumb and Dumber?
Dumb and Dumber.
I take pride that I've never seen that
It's
movie.
one of my favorite movies. It can be like we did Twilight. That's not a scary movie.
Well, but it was Valentine's Day. It was a special treat.
It's in the realm.
Yeah, there's vampires.
For my birthday, I want
the
Dumb and Dumber.
the skin of a killer.
Yeah.
I want Dumb and Dumber for my birthday.
Dumb and
episode.
Dumber.
But anyway, she's from that. But yeah, like the vibe with Bill and Joan is very unsettling, but it almost made me think, and I thought genuinely until quite some time, I thought that Bill was like just being a perv and being a creep.
Well, see, because you get that, but then it's
Yeah.
the weird pairing with like he's being genuinely just kind to her,
Right.
like. So it's this weird thing where you're like, oh, he's probably gonna like assault her, like because that's just what you think when,
Or he's like gonna flirt with her,
Right.
or like do. Yeah, no, but I feel like
but from him, it's not
wants you to think that. I think
because
that
it's
they
not
did that
really coming
intentionally.
from him. He's
Mhm.
being genuinely, and like he's saying, like my wife is right here, like, and you really do
Yeah.
see her, so you're like, oh, okay. So,
Yeah, but she's also not there for just enough scenes,
Right.
and then later they're
Mhm.
having a conversation. She like just came out of the shower, like she has
Right.
just a towel on. So it's like you have these moments where it's like this is too
Mhm.
intimate.
It's
This
too
is,
intimate.
there's too much going on here.
Because they're offered to give her a ride to Portsmouth,
Mhm.
which is on the other side of
which is between. So there's like them, and then Bramford, and then
Bramford,
Portsmouth.
Mhm.
and Bramford is where the school is.
Yes.
And again, I got another creepy vibe because they have, as they drive away, she finally accepts the ride. They drive away and they have a Bramford bumper sticker on their
Yeah.
car. And I was like, oh, what?
Yeah. I feel like I was really excited when we saw this because at first I thought I knew what the movie was. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, they're two girls alone at a boarding school, and clearly there's spooky vibes. Like, this is kind of where we're going. And then they kind of just shot you somewhere else completely, where then I assumed like, oh, okay, maybe one of these people is now going to be the killer or more victims, or, you know, like that are all going to
I
go meet
even
at the
thought
school.
like, oh, they're her parents.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to pick her up. Like, I
Yeah.
thought that at first. I was like, oh, it's her. These are her parents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. I thought
So
that.
that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so then we go back to the school. Rose comes home and she goes to like check on Kat, and she hears these like whispers in that, like, it's like they're coming from the heater, or they're like in the hall. And so she's like going on a search for them. And then she goes down to this creepy ass basement.
Yeah.
And
never go to the basement. Just I'm in
never
a
a good
basement
idea.
right now, but
I'm also in a basement right now.
Oh, don't go into a boiler room.
there you go. I have
Right.
never been in a boiler room, and I would like to keep it
Nightmare
that way.
on Elm Street. This movie, you know,
They're
like
never
there's
good.
multiple examples.
When in doubt, get out of the boiler room.
They're never good.
Run.
And so she goes to the door where the boiler room is, and she peers in, and she sees this figure of someone bowing to the radiator, like bowing to the radiator, but like violently quick.
Manically. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
no, and like
a
it's
manic
really like
way.
smooth. Like it's
Yes.
not human. Like that's not how a human would do that.
No. And did either of you think that was Catherine?
I did.
I did.
I thought it
didn't
kind of
realize
looked like her.
Maybe I was just so taken aback by the movement that like my brain couldn't process that was Catherine.
Okay, that's right, because she takes her back upstairs and she's like, "Was that sleepwalking?" She's like, she's like, "Are you okay?" Like,
yeah.
And that's when Kat is like, "Oh, it's okay. You had your chance."
Yeah, she's like, "Oh,"
and when
Jamie,
she said that, I was like,
well, because Rose also tells Catherine, like, you know, don't worry, your parents are going to be here Friday. And then Catherine's like, my parents are dead.
Oh, right.
And Catherine's like, or Rose is like, what? Like,
yeah, she's kind of like, oh, don't say that. Everything's fine.
Yeah, goodbye.
Yeah.
And then she goes in her room and like puts furniture up against the door, which like good call.
Yeah,
I think I would do the same.
Rose is like, yeah, this girl's weird. I'm not taking any chances.
I think I would do the same.
100%.
So yeah, then you know, so now we've got the two stories happening. So you know, they're both happening.
Yes,
in chunks.
So one scene that happens, like after that interaction, and you know, Rose is already knowing that Catherine's freaky, and then we see the scene of Catherine's body flailing under her sheet in her bed.
Yes.
And it's like Exorcist level. The way she is like moving her body is so creepy.
Yes.
It really upset me.
No, it does this like crazy, like her
contortion
feet flip over her. They did bring a contortionist to do it. So it was like a contortionist that did it. And then they like did it in reverse. So it was like, you know, she put that was her putting her feet back down, but they like reversed it to make it look like that. So really, it really adds the unnaturalness.
And again, it's so quiet. Like there's some background, not music, but just sounds, but like it's a very quiet movie still. So it's like we're seeing these wild things, but it's just quiet, which is
it's just quiet.
It's very like unsettling.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it. Yeah, it's like not even music. It's just like sounds.
Right.
So yeah, we see that scene, and then again it jumps back to with Bill and Joan, and Bill explains to Joan that his daughter died 9 years ago, and that he says that Joan reminds him of his daughter.
Right.
Yeah.
And he shows a picture of his daughter to Joan.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you know, it's that pretty school picture that Rose took earlier.
Yeah.
Yep.
And at this point, I was like, is Catherine Joan and Joan Catherine? This is when I first thought it.
I actually thought, wait, is she really Rose? And Rose didn't actually die. She ran away.
Oh.
And like went and had her baby and like fell on hard times. Like I was like, shit, is this Rose? That's what I thought.
Oh, and see, yeah, I thought, yeah, like Laura, I was like, wait, is this, I mean, they're both blonde, you know?
Right.
I feel like what sealed it to thinking that it was probably her was that after she sees the picture, she like runs to the bathroom because she just starts laughing.
And she smiles.
Like she smiles.
It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
Which is fucking crazy. I love it.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And then like you also see that she had stolen someone's ID whose name was Joan. So you know like she's not Joan.
This is not Joan.
But and then you see that she starts to do so earlier on in the movie we saw Rose do like she does a very specific way of like kind of petting her own hair to like put it back behind her ear, and you see that Catherine is watching Rose do that. But then you see Joan kind of do that little mannerism like, ooh, I'm gonna pretend to like be like to be like Rose. So here's there's many parts of this movie I really like, but here's kind of what my one beef. In 9 years, the person who looked like Catherine would not then look like the person who plays Joan. It's
I know.
They don't have the same facial structure at all.
So I remember when this movie came out, this was the biggest thing was that people were like, that ruined the movie. That's bullshit.
They couldn't,
they should have made it 30 years and had like just an older actress. And, but I think it's kind of the thing where like very often in horror movies, we as the audience are asked to like just suspend our disbelief for a minute because they couldn't do it in any other way. Like the reveal, like if they had just made Kiernan older, we would have immediately known.
Right.
And it wouldn't have worked for shock value. So like, I get why they did it.
Because I agree. That was my biggest thing that took away from the movie is like 9 years. I feel like you would change. Like, it's like what I looked like at 15 versus 24. Right. Like there's a difference.
But it's not like you suddenly look like me.
It's like you're not going to be a completely unrecognizable person. Right. I think they could have done a bigger gap. I think they could have done like a 20-year gap or something where it's like a little more believable. I feel like the thing that adds to, making it unbelievable is like, spoiler alert, she's the person that killed their daughter. Right. So really they wouldn't know what she looks like.
Right. Yeah. No, there's no way. And like, why is she just out and about?
Yeah. Like one, they wouldn't know. And two, like they wouldn't be informed when she escaped or was released or was like out in the world. Like
there's no way she was released.
It's only been 9 years.
Yeah. I think she
But even then,
like they would have been notified, I think.
Just going back to something that you both just said earlier, I don't know what you're talking about. I look identical to how I looked.
Oh, for sure.
At 20 years old. I have not changed.
No.
In the slightest.
No.
So, I mean.
None of us have in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
No. Like I exactly identical.
The same.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. I know. So, yes. And I think that's like a topic of conversation of all the criticism of this movie is that like
because the other thing is with modern movie magic, they could have just done a few little things to maybe just make her look a little bit more like the other one. Like they could have like maybe done like contour. Like people do crazy stuff with contouring. They could have made her. They could have made either one look more like the other. I think.
I agree.
Yeah. No, it's like I feel like Emma Roberts, like she didn't look that much older.
No,
too. Like didn't. It's it's like no, this is just a completely different person in like a very similar age,
with the same haircut. That's it.
We have to. That's one of those things you just have to accept.
And like we can't talk about it without saying like everyone that's their hang up. Like it's very fair.
Yeah.
So I think if you can just put that aside.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Moving on. Okay. So then we have the scene where Joan is in the hotel because they like stopped for the night and she's showering. He comes in the room. They talk. It's weird. Then they go get a bite to eat, but then they're like, we got to go because the storm is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go back to the school.
Ramford.
And it's like the next day, and they're over at the little house of the two nuns or sisters or whatever.
Well, before this, though, Catherine gets a phone, I think she makes a phone call.
Yes,
with her 50 cents.
Yes.
Kind of like what we saw Joan do. She makes a phone call, and we don't hear the other line at this point. We then hear it later, kind of like in a flashback or whatever. But it's a very quiet scene, and she hangs up the phone and she tells Rose, oh, this is when I wrote down the headmister.
The headmister.
The headmister, he told me it's okay. I can stay here. I can live here.
Yeah. Because in the meeting we see them at the beginning, he says like, oh, well, you can't live here, kind of jokingly.
Right.
So it's like, oh no, I can now. Actually.
He says I can live here. And then she's real weird with Rose. She's like, you smell pretty.
Oh my God.
Yes.
She's so creepy.
It's like, all right.
So good.
Then they go over to eat with the sisters.
Yeah. Yes. And this is where shit just hits. The cat is unhinged at this point. She's
because they're like
back.
praying, and you can tell that because I think we even saw in the beginning, like they do this over their meals. They have this little prayer they say, and like she's not saying anything.
No.
And so one of the sisters is like, okay, come on, you need to say it. Like, say it with us. And she's like laughing, and she like can't say it. She tries, but it's like, and then they get upset, and she stands up.
Yeah.
And then she just vomits all over the table.
And it's like it's like what? It's like milk.
Yeah, it's like milk vomit.
Like it's disgusting.
It's so gross. And then they like take her to the kitchen to like clean her up or something. And all of a sudden she's looking rough. Her eyes are sunken in. Like she
looks so rough.
Yeah.
She looks so rough.
Oh yeah. They made her look both her and Emma Roberts. They made them look awful.
Those sunken eyes.
Yeah.
And then I forget what one of the sisters says in order to tick her off.
I think she just is like checking on her. Like she goes to touch her. Right.
And she calls her the see you next Tuesday. But in like a demon voice.
Yeah, you get that like double, like it's her voice, but there's a voice behind it. She's like, don't touch me. And then I feel like the scene, like it was almost funny, like how slow, where it's like, then the phone rings and you get one of them who's like, okay, I'm gonna go get the phone, while the other two are just like sitting in the room.
Like, what do we do?
Like, what do we do? And then it's like the person gets the phone. It's like, oh, sister, whatever. Can you come out here? Actually, and then it's like her slowly leaving, and they call Rose over. So then it's her like slowly, like it's just like, okay, we're just gonna slow walk out of here.
Get out of this person's way. And you can tell, like, they get. So this is what I think the phone call was, because this is what
I thought they said.
Did they say?
Well, isn't it the headmaster?
Well, like, yeah, they say that the headmaster is coming. But here's what I love about this movie. There's so much that I interpreted that I think this is what happened, but someone could have interpreted it different. Totally. I think what happened is that Catherine's parents did get in a car accident and die, and that's why the headmaster's coming back to tell them. But I thought the same. They don't directly say that.
They don't say it.
No, you're right. But that's the vibe I got.
They didn't need to. I love when the movie doesn't over explain and like over tell you what's happening. It's like, you don't need to. We get it.
But then
here's where we're like, okay, it's picking up. Like, this is where we're like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
not fully, but getting there.
Yeah.
Well, so, and then the sisters, now this part was just like, again, they don't need to be this creepy, but it just added this element of creep, because they clearly want to get Rose out of the way so that they can kind of deal with Catherine or figure out what to do. And so they go and they have her shovel the walkway because the headmaster's coming. But she repeats so many times, shovel it down to the earth.
I know.
Yeah. Down to the earth. Who says that?
Right.
Shovel down to the earth.
Nuns.
Shoveled it down to the earth.
It's like, just shovel all the snow, put some salt on there.
Right.
So then,
Then we've
once
got
Rose
this.
is-
Well, because then we've got. Wasn't it before this that we had this scene with Joan and the wife? Like they had to get back on the road, and he was like settling up, and so that's when the wife
could
and
be.
Joan had that
Yeah.
really tense conversation. Because so far there's been no interaction with the wife,
Right.
and she basically is like alluding to the fact that this isn't the first time that he's like picked up a stray girl and said like, you remind me of my daughter, and showed her a picture. And she's like really angry about it.
Well, and you can just hear the pain and anguish and of her grief
Yes.
in this, saying like, did he tell you that she was, and she gets into graphic details about like the murder and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's after, because we see the murder first of the two sisters.
Oh, the sisters
We
are
do.
first. Interesting. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Because I don't think I remembered the order of that.
I think
either.
it then adds to it.
It's fine. Just go watch it yourself.
Yeah.
It's all happening. It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
okay, let's talk about what happens to the sisters then.
Well,
because
before the sisters, because Rose finishes shoveling down to the earth, and then she goes to go back to the sister's house, but the door's locked.
Yep.
So she's like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Right.
She goes back to.
I'm pregnant. I'm gonna go lay down.
Yeah, she goes back to her dorm, takes a nap like you do. I mean, she's dealing with a possible pregnancy.
Right. No, that's fair.
Tired. And then the headmaster and the police officer get there, and they try to get in, and it's locked. So
they go around back. And
by the time they get there too, it's because I think when Rose had gone to open the door, you heard music inside. But by the time he got there, you got like a skipping record.
And we as the audience, they walk in and we see there's a door jam with blood on it.
Yes.
Yeah, and just the skipping record.
Yeah.
But before we see what happens to them, we get this flashback, and it's that scene where Catherine was on the phone and Rose saw her, but this time we hear what's on the other end. And it's this like scratchiness, like demon voice. And
'tis the devil.
And she's like, Dad? And then you can hear the devil say, they're not coming. Kill all the see you next Tuesdays. They're like that. The demons like that word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very abrasive. It
is abrasive.
I don't like saying it.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I don't mind saying it when I'm not saying it to like be mean. Like,
I don't ever like saying it. It's just a very like,
if you can own it.
It's a strong word.
It's a strong word.
I don't even really use the B word either. So like,
yeah.
Only if it's a man. You can call a man a bitch, but
depending on the context, I'm okay saying it. But yeah, it feels awkward saying just chatting like this. Right
now.
No. And then
we're gonna get censored.
I know, right? And then we also see the flashback of Catherine looking at Rose when Rose was like getting ready to go on her date with her boyfriend, and you see behind her in the shadow, it's kind of like my night paralysis shadow demon, but it's like this just dark figure with like big bunny ears,
like Nosferatu. I thought they were like horns, but
yeah, I think it was horns, but I like your bunny ears.
Yeah,
and it was
probably horns.
We should watch Donnie Darko sometime.
Wait, oh my gosh, how have we not done that?
I love
Speaking of
that.
I mean, obviously we've all seen it.
Philip and I were obsessed with this movie.
That's probably why I saw bunny ears, because I was probably just like channeling my Donnie Darko.
We should have Philip on as our guest star if we do that.
We're adding it to the list. This is going to be. This has to be soon.
Yes,
it's going to be on the list coming soon.
So good,
so good,
so good. Okay,
I don't even know what we were talking about.
Then we get then we get our first and second death.
Okay, yes,
yeah,
because we just see a blood pool at first, and then just like it's just the bodies, right? Like,
well, they're not dead yet.
Because we see like what happened.
We see like the one more mousy one, and
you're right. Because we're still with Kat. Kat is still in the house.
Kat's still there at this.
Yeah, we're not back with the cop. And the headmaster. That's right. Yeah, we just hear a lot of breathing.
And and it was at this point, this is when I thought things really start to go down. And this is 30 minutes are left of this movie. So like all of a sudden everything is going to happen.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the one had been stabbed but is not dead, and then she's kind of like crawling like slowly. But then she sees the other one just you see Catherine just stab her over and over. And there's one detail where as she's stabbing, you can like see the knife kind of get stuck in the body.
Which I loved that attention to detail.
Yeah.
That's how it is. It isn't. I'm not saying I've done it myself, okay?
You know.
Officer,
what?
To my FBI agent and my camera, I actually just mean on a clinical level.
I can only assume.
Sorry, officer. But yeah.
So yeah, so then we see them that they're both dead.
And then
I think we see the officers see them or something.
Yeah. Then we get their reaction. Like we cut back.
Then we get Catherine creeping around in the dorms. And then Rose was like hearing stuff, so she's like going to investigate, and Rose just opens the doorway
because she was in the bathroom.
Oh, she was in the bathroom.
And she found out she wasn't pregnant.
Oh yes, she got a period. She's not pregnant.
Yeah. And it's a
but then it sounds like someone's in there with her.
Yeah.
So she's like, Catherine?
Yeah, but Catherine's just creeping around. She's not making her presence known. So Rose goes to look. She opens the door to the stairway, and then she sees just this pile of bloody clothes. And she's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But it's too late.
It is.
Then she gets stabbed.
Yeah. She turns around and like Cat just comes out of nowhere. Like just boom, stab. And then just keeps stabbing.
Just in the stomach over and over, and then the head.
And then we see her take the head. Yeah.
Yeah, we see her like lift her
by the hair.
Lift her head up.
And like that was a little knife. I can only imagine that decapitation is like hard. How do you cut through the spine with that tiny
hard
knife?
to do?
Yeah.
So yeah,
you got to put your back into it.
So I think like I'm sorry that I said that this hadn't happened yet, because I think you're right, Brianna, because it's important that we know that the mom had this conversation with Catherine, because when she's talking about her daughter dying, and we see this before we see what happens.
Yes.
She talks about how like a memory she has of her daughter is when Rose would like pull her hair up in a ponytail, and how like the roots of her hair would like behind her ears would be pulled tight.
Yes.
And like that's such an odd thing to think about.
It was such an odd thing to think. You're like, why the fork is she talking about that? Like,
but then as Catherine is decapitating Rose, she's pulling her hair up kind of like, and it's very obvious that you're seeing
like a ponytail.
Her hair like a ponytail.
And that's just all the mom can think of.
Oh.
Yeah. So
brutal.
At this point, the cop, right?
Yeah, because
looking for Cat.
Because
again, the
boiler
Jones story just continues after this, right? Yeah. So the cop is looking for Cat, and he realizes there's something going on, and so he goes down to the boiler room where he finds her.
And again, it's a very cool look, because he does the exact same way of looking into the boiler room as Rose had done earlier. So it's like a very similar, and there's just all these heads lined up.
It's like
for the asking.
When I was a child, I used to like do little things with like my stuffed animals and dolls. Like, this is embarrassing. But I really used to like play church. So like I would be like the priest, and I would have all my like stuffed animals like come to church with me, and I would like line them up all facing like the altar, and we would like be doing like our little like church service. This kind of reminds me of that, because it's like Catherine and the three little heads are like all facing the boiler.
Facing the boiler.
They can, all do their little worship.
I used to pop my Barbie's heads off because you could switch them and not have to switch their outfits. You just switch their bodies. This made me think of that.
Yeah. Childhood.
That scene was so just intense.
And then it's the scene in the car, right? Or is there more?
Well,
Well,
no.
I feel like we have to talk about what happens with the cop, right? So he
Yeah.
walks in and he's trying to like multiple warning. She's still holding the knife.
Oh,
and he's like,
shit.
drop the knife.
Oh,
like,
because
please drop the knife.
Because we should say when she was showering, they made us pay attention to the fact that she had a circular wound on both sides of her shoulder. So you assume it's a gunshot wound. So we knew that already. Yes.
Yeah.
Continue.
So Kat's in the boiler room. Multiple warnings from the cop saying like, drop the knife, drop the knife. She stands up and starts just like slowly walking towards him. And he's like, drop the knife. And she just like raises her arms all the way up and just yells like, hail Satan.
Yep.
As he shoots her. All we see is that he shoots her. We don't see where, I think, at that point.
No. But in my mind, I was like,
it's like
that confirmed. Like we already basically knew, but that confirmed that Joan is in fact Kat.
So now we get to see what happens with Joan and Rose's parents.
It's real quick.
It's
like,
really
it's
fast.
real fucking quick.
Yeah.
Because they get close to Branford. And then she's like, you got to pull over. Even though they were planning on taking her to Portsmouth. She's like, you got to pull over. I'm going to be sick.
And the mom is like, do not let her out of the car.
Out.
Like,
she's like, don't stop here.
Yeah.
Like,
do not
anywhere
stop.
but
don't
here.
let her out of the car. Don't stop. Like,
she's like, we can't stop here. Like anywhere but here, you know? But the dad pulls over.
Yep.
And she just slits his throat.
Yep.
Like it's really quick.
No, it's like insanely quick.
Just, she slits his throat and then she moves on to the wife. Like it's just very fast.
Yeah.
Well, she starts stabbing the wife in the back. Like, oh, it's just it's over and over, and you can tell it just like it hurts, but the wife is like struggling
of her daughter. And,
it's oh god, terrible. It's awful.
And we see her like grab a suitcase, you know,
and put their heads in it.
Put their heads in,
and just the look and texture of those severed heads.
Yeah,
like
they did good.
Oh
no, they did.
Their gore was minimal, but when they had it, it was good.
It was good. Just the way she puts them into that little like travel suitcase, it's awful.
And then
she's all bloody.
And then she starts screaming and crying and right?
Well, no, she goes back to the school.
Oh my god.
You're jumping all the way to the end.
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, before she goes back to the school, before she goes back to the school, she kind of like wipes the blood off her face, but then decides to just use it as blush.
Yeah.
You know,
like, oh, you know,
a little rouge.
Just a little bit of color, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, she's going back. And the school is closed. Like it's boarded up. You can tell it had been shut down or just wasn't around anymore. Like school is gone. But she's gonna come in. And then I think at this point we get a flashback to Kat. You know, we're back to younger Kat, where it's her getting an exorcism. Basically.
Yeah, she's in the hospital. You know, she'd been shot, but she's been treated, and now the headmaster comes to visit her and gives her an exorcism. He's like, "You're not welcome here."
We see him set up it's a little like the holy water, like do all the things, does the and like it's like the saddest exorcism you've ever seen. Like he's doing it, and we just get this moment where we see her demon in the corner with his little bunny ears, and she's like, "Don't go."
Yeah,
like, she doesn't want the exorcism,
right?
But the exorcism works, and the demon's gone.
Or does it? Or does it?
Well, so now we're back to present day Joan, right? / older Kat, and she goes back to the boiler room, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And she has her little heads that she brought back. You know, just trying to recreate
compact in a little suitcase. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't really see anything happens. So she goes back outside, and we get that again. There's a lot of like repeating kind of scenes, like callbacks to earlier scenes. It's like the same scene of when younger cat is outside, like waiting for the cars and realizes no one's coming.
Mhm.
We see her and she's out there and she realizes no one's here. No one's coming.
Yep.
And then she just starts to cry. Just full
Sad.
breakdown. Mm-hmm.
The cry was very good. It was a good.
It was good.
It was
I
good.
wish we would have gotten more of it, honestly, because at one
Yeah.
point they like muffle the sound and
Mhm.
then like kind of reduce the sound, so we see
Right.
she's crying and screaming, but we
Mhm.
don't hear
we
it.
could have
only
gotten
heard
more
it
of
at the
it.
beginning.
I
I wish
agree.
they would have just kept like a little bit more.
Yeah.
I agree.
Like
Yeah.
for a movie that's so drawn out
Right.
Mhm.
and slow and makes you take every moment.
Mhm.
I
We
could
could have
done
had a
without
little
just
more.
a little bit, just like a little longer.
That's
I
kind of
agree.
what I feel about the whole last 30 minutes. It's
Mhm.
not that I wish any of the first hour was gone, but maybe some. I feel like they could have made it half and half, like still draw it out, but then I wish there was more of the scenes with the demons and the acts
Yeah.
that happen. Like
Mhm.
it was good, but I felt like it was a little too short and rushed. I wish there was a little bit more of that. Like
No, I
maybe
get
45
Right.
Yeah.
or something.
No, I get that. I
Yep.
am happy though that we never like saw like the face of the demon. Like we never saw the
too.
demon up close. I like that he stayed just a dark. It stayed just a dark shadow,
A jarred bunny.
just a bunny.
Mhm.
Just a bunny. Okay, so here's what's really interesting about this movie, and that I feel
Mhm.
like everyone can take their own view of it. I wasn't really getting that the demon didn't come back. Like, I know we didn't see
Oh.
him once she cut off their heads and, like, took him to the boiler room, but I was
Mhm.
almost just thinking she was, like, screaming because, like, she couldn't escape this life and this, like, need to kill people. I wasn't
Oh.
realizing I wasn't thinking, I guess, that she was screaming because she sacrificed more human heads and her demon daddy didn't come back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
I thought-
interpreted it different.
I thought she
Yeah.
like she was like abandoned
Yeah.
by
Mhm.
him. Is
Which totally
Yeah.
makes sense, but that's just not where my brain went.
Interesting. Yeah,
Interesting.
no, because I took the end as like her realizing that she's alone.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. The one kind of like Nosferatu, you know? You
Mhm.
tie yourself to this evil entity because you're really lonely. But
Mhm.
this one, she
Oh my gosh,
wanted
it
him to
is
come
like
back.
Nosferatu.
Mhm.
Yeah.
With this one, she
Yeah.
wanted him back. She wanted
Yeah.
her dark bunny
Totally makes
back in
sense.
her life, but now she's alone.
Fascinating.
Okay. Well, I would be interested to know what everyone else thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let
Also,
us
ladies,
know.
we made it through the whole movie without talking about what we're sipping on.
What are we sipping on?
Oh, shoot. Okay, so here we go. I bet.
So I made the drink tonight, and I think we kind of talked about wanting to do like a mocktail because I think a lot of people are doing dry January. And I knew I wanted something red, which is this kind of where this started. So I will say it kind of worked really well. I like looked in my fridge, and for some reason, I was like, "Ooh, I have an orange sparkling water, and I have cranberry juice, and I feel like that's kind of a good base
Totally.
for a mocktail."
Mhm.
And so I went to the grocery store that's like right next to me. And I walked in and they have all the non-alcoholic stuff. I think just because so many people are doing dry January, and they were doing
Nice.
samples. And the very first sample that I tried was a red wine substitute is what they called it.
Okay.
So it's like, again, it's kind of red winey, but it's more, you get more like, it's more like tart and bitter. Like you get kind of like the more like berry flavors.
Mhm.
And the person doing the samples said she recommended throwing in some sparkling water and an orange peel.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like,
Perfect.
that's already what I wanted. So I
Perfection.
just got a couple cans of that.
Mhm.
So I think this is kind of like a non-alcoholic sangria,
Yeah.
what I think it's the closest
Mhm.
to. So I did the red wine substitute, so a non-alcoholic red wine, and then an orange sparkling water, along with like a couple orange slices, just to give it like a little fresh orange.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to do some sort of sweetener, and I had seen an interview with Kiernan where she talked about being covered in blood, and it's saying that it just felt like molasses, like it was just being covered in like stickiness. So for a
Mhm.
sweetener, I did a molasses syrup. So you just take
Nice.
molasses, do some warm water. So it's like
Mhm.
a little more runny, not as sticky. So I did molasses as the sweetener. And then I did just a splash of cranberry juice because I feel like it needed a little bit more
Yes.
fruity. It
Mhm.
needed like some acidity kind of in there. So do all that to taste because I didn't measure anything and mix it all together. And honestly, it's really good. Like
That sounds so good.
if I got this at a restaurant as like a non-alcoholic sangria, like I would be really happy with it. Like it's
I love
actually
it.
has like really interesting flavors. It's also like a really pretty color.
Ooh, that's very pretty.
Oh, it is pretty.
Yeah, like it's like a
Yeah.
nice like dark, very dark red, almost
Mhm.
purple.
Mhm.
And so I made myself a giant, I don't know if you can see how big this is.
Yeah,
My
that's pretty
Oregon
big.
Pinot Noir
Mhm.
glass fits an entire bottle of Pinot Noir.
Nice.
Filled it up.
Yeah, I was
Love.
like, that's the size of your head.
Yep.
So we
Love
don't
it.
usually make up our own cocktails. So this is exciting because this is a
Yeah.
Spooky Sips original. What are we going to call it? Are we going to
Oh,
call
Headless?
it Headless, the Headless Mocktail?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. It's been coined.
The
Yeah.
Headless Mocktail.
I love
Honestly,
it.
this one just came together. I kid you not. I was at the store for maybe 4 minutes.
No, that's perfect.
like,
That's
this
it's
was it.
because
This is
it
what I
was
want.
destined. It was in the
Mhm.
stars.
Love it.
Love.
So, did either of you watch all the credits?
No, I never do.
I left it
I'm
on
so
because
bad
I was like,
about
oh, I
that.
should watch this. But I
never
wasn't
do.
fully paying attention, if I'm being honest.
I wasn't fully paying attention, although I did notice someone who was credited in this movie, and I of course didn't write down their name, but their title was Best Boy Grip.
Yeah, that's in every movie.
But what? Why is it the Best Boy? Have we talked about this already?
Have we not? Yeah,
Why is
maybe we haven't. There's
Maybe we
always a
have.
best boy.
Yeah.
in a
Why is
movie.
it the Best Boy Grip? Like, what does that mean?
I swear,
I
like
don't
every
know that-
movie Matt and I watch, we go through the credits and it's like, who's the best boy?
Yeah.
Well,
Like it's in every movie.
well, this Best Boy Grip, I just thought that's so cute because then there was other grips, but they weren't called the Best Boy Grips.
Yeah. Why'd he
Yeah.
get the best boy? You're it's like a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the
Okay.
best boy.
Goodest boy.
According to Google, the best boy acts as an all hands on deck assistant to the key grip or gaffer in a movie.
Well, I mean, he's the bestest boy.
mm-hmm.
I just
But
thought
yeah,
that.
every movie has it.
Okay.
Usually.
Well, there we go. And then the only other notable thing was that it was filmed in Canada.
Yes.
Of course.
And one thing I'll add is I made it in my notes, and I feel like you both mentioned this too, that it looks freezing.
It
like,
looks
I
so
remember
cold.
specifically like a scene with Emma Roberts where
Yes.
she's sitting outside, and I remember thinking like, I feel cold just watching
Her
her.
hands were so red.
Yeah. It was actually freezing. Like
Oh,
it
okay.
was legitimately one
Yeah,
of
her
like the
hands were
coldest
bright red.
recorded days when they were
Oh my
filming her scenes. So it
Mm,
was like negative something degrees. Like it was
it looked
awful.
it.
Yeah.
No, I got cold watching it. I lit a candle. I put on more
Yeah.
fuzzy slippers. I put on
Yeah.
more layers of
Got
blankets.
like a really cozy blanket.
Yeah.
No, like I was like, this is either like incredible movie magic, making it look this cold, or it was actually freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
totally.
looked it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Again, it's a good winter one.
It
Like,
is.
It's just a good winter.
It really
movie.
is.
Mhm.
Mhm. All right. Well, where are you going to take us? Not so Dr. Roar.
I got a couple places to go. A couple
Yeah,
of
I'm
places
curious.
to go.
Where are you gonna go?
Okay,
with this
just
one?
remember she's not a real psychologist, but it's okay because they're not real headless people.
Mhm.
So we're gonna go back to the
She's a real psychologist.
Well, yeah, I am.
I'm sorry. I meant like
I'm not a doctor.
she's not a licensed.
I'm a licensed school
Well,
psychologist.
no, right, but
I'm
you're
not a
not like a
licensed
doctor.
psychologist. I'm not
We
a doctor.
call you Dr. Laura, but you
Yes.
are in fact not a doctor.
Correct.
But
I
she
do
You
is
not.
a
are a
psychologist.
psychologist.
I'm not a psychologist. I just play one at school. But yeah, so we're gonna go. I didn't even catch that.
I didn't either. Like,
I was like, wait.
Okay, we're gonna go back to our roots of the OG days of Spooky Sips, where I'm
Alright.
busting out the DSM.
here we go, baby.
It's been a while.
Mhm.
So, as many of the movies we watch, it's like, okay, do you believe that there's real ghosts and real hauntings, or do you believe it's more of a diagnosable illness?
Psychological disorder.
Psychological disorder?
Honestly, for this movie, I really think you could argue either way.
I think you
I
could.
agree.
I think
you
you know, she is the only person who
Mhm.
experiences that.
Mhm.
So it's you could argue it was
Right.
really happening or it was all in her head.
I agree.
And even though we have different viewpoints on what happened at the end, I think either one could make sense with the diagnosis I will be giving Catherine. I'm only diagnosing
Okay.
her. Well, the
Yeah.
okay. The parents obviously they have complex grief that they're dealing with, which
Yes.
of course they are.
Yeah.
And then the only other person that we even met in the movie, other than the cop who probably has PTSD, they're probably all dead.
Yeah, honestly.
Maybe the
She
headmaster
was
still around.
the biggest character to break down. So we
Right.
we can go with just her.
So she's a pretty kind of cut and dry one of schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she needs to have 2 or more of the following things within a 1-month period, and a continuous sign of disturbances for like the past 6 months. So some of the key features that you would need for schizophrenia is delusions. So this would be, like thinking that you need to cut off people's heads in order to satisfy Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Satan's needs. Also hallucinations. And Catherine has both auditory and visual hallucinations. She hears the demon devil talking to her, but she also sees him in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But does she see him or do we see him?
Now you're getting all meta.
Because she never acknowledges its presence. So, like,
Well, she kind of at the very, very end, she asks it not to leave.
that's true. That's
She
true.
She
Okay.
does. So I think she sees him.
Okay.
I think she
Yep.
sees him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that you could have would be disorganized speech. I don't think we really see this in Catherine, like kind of like talking in nonsensical ways. We don't.
Just the one moment where she had like the double speak, but that was it.
Ooh, yeah. That could be something to consider for that.
Mm-hmm.
And also either like really disorganized or catatonic behavior. And I think we see this in Catherine, just the way she's just muted and kind of doesn't talk and doesn't respond unless she's like being maniacal.
Yeah.
For sure we see that.
Mm-hmm.
And then some negative symptoms that you could have with schizophrenia would be diminished emotional expression. So this again, I think we see with her where she kind of just is very flat sort of affect, unless she's, having like inappropriate emotional responses.
Yeah.
Now, then when you look at schizophrenia in children, another aspect you would want to consider, and this is for people that are younger, tend to have this in almost every diagnosis in the DSM, is irritable behavior. And we definitely see that in Catherine when she's younger, where it's like she's fine and then she gets like agitated with people. Like, you already lost your privileges or lost your chance or whatever. So we see that irritability. And that's what I think maybe was happening to her before the movie starts. Like, I think maybe she was showing some of these. I think in the movie is when she's having her first and acute episode of schizophrenia. So she gets really in it, but she was having some signs of like the breakdown of her mental health before that.
Yeah. I feel like we don't get the feeling that this is all completely new.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think that she went into remission when she was being treated at the hospital. But what's interesting is depending on how you think the ending happened. So is it that she went back and she tried to get the demon to come back, the hallucinations to come back, and they wouldn't? Is that because the treatment was too effective and, she's medicated now and she's gone to, treatment for intensively for 9 years? He won't come back? Or is it that she's returning to her old ways of violence to please the demon because she left the hospital and no longer is being medicated and treated, and her schizophrenia symptoms come right back? So really, it could be either one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
or it could be the devil.
Or it could be the devil.
Yeah.
It could also be Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So really, that's a pretty simple one, but she's a pretty clear cut.
It's a pretty clear
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the only other topic I had thought of, if you go at this from more of a it wasn't the devil, is the topic of recidivism, which is just hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
Recidivism. Because there are definitely psychological things that go on with recidivism. So that is recidivism is when a prior criminal goes like, through being detained, released, and then commits crimes again once they're back out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what recidivism means. They reoffend, basically. So I think that that's what happens with Catherine. She engages in that recidivism. She commits the crime. She goes into treatment. She's locked up. She gets out or runs away and then immediately goes back to committing crime.
I think if you like decapitate 3 people, I don't think there's like any chance you're released in less than
not
9
in
years.
9 years. I don't think.
Right. Even if you're a juvenile when it happens.
Yeah, that's
right.
That seems unlikely.
Right. So yeah, I think she maybe like got out.
Well, right, and that's like why she still had the hospital bracelet on.
Mm-hmm.
That's like it would have been taken off if she had been.
Oh, that's right.
Officially, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, people who are at risk for recidivism is people that rate high. There's this psychopathy checklist where it basically rates these, tendencies of, psychopathy. And people that rate high on that are 3 times more likely to violently recidivate than quote unquote non-psychopaths. So no matter what your reason for committing crimes in the first place, if part of it has to do with like your psychopathy of your personality, 3 times more likely you're going to commit crimes again.
Interesting.
And that's more predictive than like any demographic info, any of your criminal history, or other personality disorders that don't have those like psychopathy traits, which I just thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Very.
Also, if some of the issues, the mental health issues that you have are associated with or are externalizing, those are connected with higher rates of recommitting crimes versus internalizing. So this would be things like externalizing is like breaking rules and, kind of acting out versus internalizing like anxiety. So if it was just that she had anxiety, that is not associated with higher rates of recommitting crimes. And depression, according to some studies, is actually associated with lower rates of recidivism, possibly due to like socially withdrawing after you commit that crime. Like you don't recommit again.
Yeah.
So when you look at it when it comes to girls with comorbid substance use, which we don't really see with Catherine, but if you also have substance use and affective disorders, you're more than 4 times likely to reoffend than girls without that disorder. The case is not, that pattern does not hold true for boys.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah. And here's where we got a big one for Catherine. Family instability is also associated with higher recidivism.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then some other things that lead to it. So like social interactions and peer influences. So if Catherine is being influenced by a peer or, a demon to go and recommit these crimes, if you have that kind of peer pressure in your life, if that demon had stuck around and is like, as soon as you get out, you got to go kill again, or she's just wanting to get him back to try to impress him, that's a really good reason for why she would do it.
Yeah.
She's getting that pressure from the demon.
Yeah.
Real or imagined.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes if you're in a place like a prison, or I would say more prison than just mental health hospital, if you're around other people who have kind of those violent tendencies and want to engage in that sort of quote unquote deviant behavior,
right,
it might kind of influence you to keep doing it.
Makes sense.
Also, if you've been kind of labeled and stigmatized because of your past crime, it's like, why the heck not do it again? I've already been called the decapitator. Why not keep going?
Well, and if you think about it from like from where she's coming from, she was so young when she did this. She didn't really have a life before it to go back on. Like this literally is mostly all she's ever been. So like, why wouldn't she continue?
And probably for the last 9 years, she's been so confined that she is treated based off of her crime, not based off of anything else.
Right.
I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I had never heard of before that can have to do with recidivism is criminogenic needs.
I haven't heard that one before.
There's all of these like these websites and like studies and information about criminogenic needs. So, what are criminogenic needs?
Please tell us.
These are characteristics, traits, problems, or issues that people face that are directly related to their likelihood of reoffending. Okay. So there's 8 of them. So 1 is if you have antisocial like cognitions or antisocial tendencies, which absolutely Catherine has.
Yeah, she might have.
If you're associated with people who are also antisocial, which I'm guessing her being in the institution, she probably is.
Right.
Yeah.
Your behavioral characteristics. Well, she has actively, like, violently murdered people. So that's a pretty intense behavior.
Yeah.
Your criminal history, which, you know, she didn't have a ton up till now that we know of, but it was pretty intense.
Right.
History.
Yeah.
Your family situation. So hers is not so great. So far we're up to 5 of the 8. Your education and employment might have to do with it. We don't know how her education has continued in this institution, but likely she's not feeling like she's a productive member of society.
No.
Well, we know she was a freshman during all of this. So assuming her education kind of stopped after that, you know.
Yeah. So like if you're feeling unfulfilled in your life, you have a much higher likelihood to reoffend.
Yeah.
Also, your leisure and recreation. So do you tend to prefer activities that are kind of problematic or criminal in nature?
Like
in your
decapitation?
Or, you know, worshiping the boiler.
It seems like she really enjoyed it. She didn't want him to go. She seemed to be, she was laughing. She was having
a great time with him.
Also, substance use. That's the one of the 8 where I don't think we really see any signs of that with Catherine.
I don't think so.
But she's got 7 of the 8 criminogenic needs.
That'll do it.
That are fostering that desire in her to reoffend.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you know, she's set up for failure.
Yeah,
she really is.
Poor thing.
But there are definitely you know, things that people can do to kind of reduce recidivism. We're not so great here in this country of that. You know, just stick them in prison. Don't give them any sort of don't teach them any sort of coping skills, life skills, way to, you know, improve their lives or feel fulfilled or satisfied without crime.
Right.
So that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to support reducing the chance of reoffending, certain behavior therapies would be really good. And like skills training would be really good. Addressing their mental health needs would be important. Although a kind of sad study I found was showing that people who engaged in like it's called wraparound support, where they had a crime and they get like in every facet of their life, 24 hours, they get this really like intensive approach to supporting them. Their likelihood of recidivism was no different than people who just get the standard kind of treatment.
Interesting.
Which I thought, that's kind of sad. So maybe it's like we need to kind of rethink. Now that was just
really
one study
at the core.
But maybe we need to think about like how effective is this quote unquote wraparound support?
Right.
Like, is it highly trained people? Is it people that have enough time, or are they being pulled thin? Are they not actually able to give quality support?
Yeah.
So really, I just think that poor Catherine she was so young, the behavior or the crime was so intense, and she busted out that it's kind of not. And she has 7 of the 8 criminologic. What did I say?
Yeah.
Is this like cryotherapy? I don't, you said something.
Yeah, definitely cryotherapy.
Criminogenic needs. She has 7 of the 8
Same thing.
criminogenic needs that are pulling her toward a life of crime. Like it's actually not surprising at all that she murdered again.
Yeah.
You know what I think about? And maybe this is why I have a federal agent listening to me, but I'm like, okay, so if you're just this like 15-year-old girl, like going to school, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, the devil wants me to kill everyone. Like what it actually takes to murder and then decapitate a person, I'm like, I would be intimidated. I'd be like, I don't know how to decapitate someone. I would be scared. I wouldn't know how.
Yeah.
Like, how do you just go from 0 to decapitation for your first offense?
I know. I feel like for her, that's the thing though. It's like, I mean, it was like an exorcism, right? So it was like at least partially a possession.
That's true.
Because like she has no emotion for most things, really. She lashes out sometimes.
It's just
but
that's intense.
just
All murder is intense, but like
and kind of you have a knife, and then it's kind of about trial and error. Your victims are they don't really care if you do it right.
No, I know, but just even then, I just
go for it.
Like that's it was a little knife. That would have taken a long time.
I mean, she's probably buff. Like she's probably got some good arm muscles.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the psych for tonight.
Yeah. I feel like that's very solid. Well, we can go through some fun facts. I feel like I talked about a lot of them like while we were talking, but I'll see if I have any that we haven't talked about. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I mentioned that it took a while to get this movie out, and it took a while for it to get made too. So the script was actually completed in 2012, but it took a long time to get funding for it. I feel like that was before. I feel like right now we are in like a horror movie era. Like there are so many horror movies. There are so many great ones. There's a ton of people, ton of companies like bringing them out. I feel like 2012, like we were not there. They were probably not as easy to convince people to make it.
I can totally see that.
Yeah, so this was a long time coming. The score that we all liked was actually done by the director's brother. His name is Elvis Perkins. He is like a musician, but he had never written a film score before. So this was his first time.
He did very good.
Yeah. He said it was hard.
Well done, Elvis.
But he did well, honestly.
Was the Black Coat's Daughter song, is that already a song?
No, that's a real song.
That's just a real song.
Was it a song? I thought it was like a rhyme.
It's a nursery rhyme.
Yeah. So it was a rhyme, and then he actually sings the song that we hear at the end. Like that's him singing. He did the music for it. But I think that the rhyme existed already. So he didn't come up with like the lyrics.
Okay, because I was trying to figure this out. A black coat is apparently like a disparaging way to refer to clergy. I was like, but what's the what? I was trying to find like how you would use that in a sentence, and I couldn't figure it out. But yeah, that's all I could find.
Well, you use it in the sentences, deedle deedle, Black Coat's daughter. What was in the holy water?
Obviously.
Went to bed with an unclean head.
Obviously.
The angels, they forgot her.
Yeah.
That's how you use it.
That's just how it, yeah.
So yeah, that's what a black coat is, I guess.
Oh, interesting. So we're Black Coat's daughters.
Because
you are.
The headmaster was a priest, right? I assume Catholic. You know. But then I was like, but do you think that the Black Coat's daughter is like the devil's daughter?
Maybe.
Like a priest gone bad.
Like like a demon priest.
Right.
Yeah. Oh. I'm happy you looked that up because I had no idea.
It was just really bugging me because I was like, what is that?
What is
like,
that? Yeah.
I just like to know that we are Blackcoat's daughters. That
Yeah.
makes
You
me
are.
feel good.
but again,
Mhm.
it's a disparaging way to call.
It is.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so-
Sorry. Sorry, Dad.
So
Yeah.
we
So
are
we're
if you
not.
don't like Trace. So
Okay.
if you don't like him, we're Blackcoat's daughters.
Okay,
Sorry.
so cut that out.
Just kidding, Dad. And again, I couldn't find like, was this a widely used term? Like I wasn't having
Yeah.
much success. So if anyone out there knows,
No,
Let
yeah.
us-
If anyone has more background, even on like the rhyme where it
Let
came
us
from, like
know.
I tried looking it up and I was having
Right.
such a hard time because every time you look it up, you just get this movie.
yes,
Right.
because nursery rhymes used to be fucked.
nursery rhymes are
like,
so
creepy.
upsetting.
They are so dark.
Mhm.
So it felt like a nursery rhyme.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that was intentional. They knew that they wanted for a song, like they wanted something that sounded like, you know, childish, like nursery rhyme, but
Mhm.
also Satan-y,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes.
a little satanic.
They
Yep.
did
that
good.
They could
No,
do, and
perfect.
yeah, we know it's the perfect little rhyme. So the movie, for any UK fans out there who are watching this and are like, this kind of rings a bell, but I didn't watch a movie called The Blackcoat's Daughter. I watched a movie called February. That was the original name of this movie, and it was
Interesting.
released in the
As
UK
February.
on Netflix as February.
You guys, we had a missed opportunity. We are releasing this in January. Why
I
didn't
know.
we just wait
We
a
do
week?
this so much. We're like, again, here's the thing, guys. We like to not look stuff up about movies because,
Right.
you know, it's a better way to watch.
So in the description, it just says in the dead of winter. It does
Yeah.
not say February.
So we were like, oh, great, a winter movie. I know.
We're just
like
getting you all.
just slightly
We're
off.
just getting you all ready and psyched for February because it's the best month
Yeah.
of the year.
I think our best one is that, and we had a few followers point this out to us,
Don't talk about our 6th episode.
is that we watched the movie Seven for our 6th episode. We couldn't just wait and push it back
I
to
think
be 7-7.
this needs to be our thing. Like we just do things
There's
wrong.
A little
Terrible
off.
timing.
Just
a little
poor
off.
timing.
Yeah. It's great timing. It's more memorable this way.
It is.
That's true.
Oh, that's amazing.
So anyway, that was the original title. If you're in the UK and watched this on Netflix, that's what you would have seen the title. When A24 bought the distributing rights, they were like, we don't love that name. Could you pick something else?
I love the title.
It's not very clear that it's a horror movie. Like we
Yeah.
need something with like a little bit more zing to it. And they had the rhyme, The Blackcoat's Daughter, and so that's where they took that
Perfect.
from. It was like, you know what? Like this kind of works because, you know, we have like a female leading character, like she's
Mhm.
you know, like she is a daughter of,
Right.
you know, that
Mhm.
kind of works. So I'm happy they changed the name. I
Yeah,
feel
me
like
too.
It's a perfect
this-
name. Yeah.
it's more interesting than just like, oh, it's called February.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
what is that about? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Did
No,
you
I
guys
agree.
see that thing we posted on Instagram about A24 and it was someone's lunchbox that they were opening?
Just like with the rubber bands.
Yeah.
Because that is literally what, I mean, it was perfect. That is what it is.
No, it's so good.
So good.
So there were a couple like horror movies that kind of inspired this one, and one that I think he actually told like the cast to watch was Rosemary's Baby, just to, you know, get them in the spooky vibe.
Mhm.
Bramford is the name of the apartment building.
Oh, I
Because
knew that name was
Rosemary's Baby is like one of
Mhm.
my. We haven't done that, have we?
We haven't.
Okay, well, we're doing it this
I know.
year.
Yeah.
But yes, that was the one thing that I caught because I was like, wait, that's from the Rosemary's Baby. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
That's
definitely
a
did
nice
not catch
homage
that.
to it. I like that.
Yeah, no, I feel like that was good.
Mhm.
Well, I think he even mentioned the empty chair in one of those very first scenes is also kind of a take on a scene from Rosemary's Baby. So there's some inspiration that was
Nice.
taken from that. In an interview that I saw where they asked him what the inspiration was, he literally just said that he knew he wanted to make a movie about a sad girl. It's like, I gotta make a sad girl movie.
I love that.
Okay,
He did
okay.
good. You know,
Yeah,
because so many
Sad
times
one. Mm-hmm.
women do not get written correctly for parts, like it's like a miss. This was a teenage girl. Like,
no, it worked so
it was
like no
very
credit where
good.
credit's due. He
Yes.
wrote it very well. So yeah, he was just like, I don't know, a story about a sad girl. And then he kind of just was like, what if she was at boarding school? Madeline.
Mhm.
And then it just kind of went from there. Like he
Love
just
it.
kind of kept creating.
And there really is something so fascinating about a movie that says so much less than we took away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we've all had things that we were like, that's what I got. But the other was like, well, no. And it's like to be able to pull that off well, to not say something. And by doing that, you say something in different ways is very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's see, what was next? Oh, one kind of like fun thing that I saw is Emma Roberts, when she got the script, she was in New Orleans making American Horror Story. So she was already in like
in
a
this spooky place.
kind of place when I saw it. So it was like, yeah, like it was a good fit,
Yeah. That was a good era.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch it for the 5th time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to the commentary, like just the director's commentary, where he just talks you through the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about the snow. And he was like, oh, like the snow looks so good here. That was Parmesan cheese. And then he just moves on.
What?
And I was like, whoa, wait, what? So I like made a note because I was kind of like had it on in like the background while I was doing things. So I just wrote like snow equals Parmesan cheese. So I didn't look that up. I don't know if he was joking and I just didn't catch it. And that's where I came in. But I'm just going to claim that the snow was Parmesan cheese.
That's exciting.
Maybe he even said it looks like Parmesan cheese. I don't know. My
I
notes
hope
said
it's actual Parmesan cheese.
Okay, just from a quick Google, it says the fake snow is actually Parmesan cheese because it's cheaper. Oh, but then this person is saying they don't believe that that's true.
Yeah.
So okay, never mind.
I choose to believe it's true unless you can prove to me otherwise. It's Parmesan cheese.
Oh yeah, they're just saying that. Yeah, they said that in the commentary, but they don't think it's true. But
yeah,
maybe.
This was a weird one that I noticed, and I was like, I wonder if that had any significance. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find it. Mm-hmm. But when the priest or the headmaster and priest is doing the exorcism, it's not a Bible that he's holding. It's the I can't remember the author, but it's the Imitation of Christ, which is like this famous Christian devotional. But I was like, why is that the book that he's using and not a Bible? It felt intentional.
Yeah.
But I tried to look it up and I couldn't find anything about it.
Yeah, I feel like normally they have a Bible.
Right. I feel like if you're doing that, it's for a reason.
Maybe that's why it didn't work. Or it did work.
Oh, that's true.
So yeah, I don't know about that one either, but
oh wait, yeah, if anyone knows anything about that.
Right.
Have we let us know.
Have we ever done The Exorcist?
No.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
I know.
Because I'm like, I think we also need to do the exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because
I've heard of that one.
Have you not seen it?
I haven't, no.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
I vote for that over The Exorcist first because it's so good.
We'll have to do both.
Yeah.
Well, no, yes, but I think that we should have Trace on for the Emily Rose one. Like we should have a priest on for an exorcism movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We got to tap into that niche thing that we've got, you know?
And so that was all of my fun facts. The snow was Parmesan.
Nice. Snow equals Parmesan.
Yes. I love that. Okay. Well, it was interesting because as I was watching the movie, I was like, I know that I'm the only one that's seen it. And sometimes I feel like when you're the one that's seen it, there's a little pressure because you're like the one that like recommended it. And I didn't know where you guys would land with it because it is a different style. So like I was prepared for anything. I was like, they may hate it. They may like it. I don't know.
Yeah, this one, I didn't know where you guys were going to land on it either. I feel like
Mhm.
usually I loosely can tell it's like, oh, like Brianna's going to like this, or like
Right.
Laura's going to hate this, or, you know,
Yeah.
like I have
Yeah.
like an idea of
Yes.
where. But yeah, this one, I feel like it was just a little different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I can go first because I said at
Okay.
the beginning, I really liked the movie.
Mhm.
I'll probably watch it again.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I get in the mood to watch a horror movie that is just like vibes. Like I just want like something that's not going to actually scare me. I don't like gore. I've talked about it
Yes.
multiple times. And like this feels like the movie that I can throw on when I want to
Like
do
a
that.
cozy winter scary movie.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I actually really liked it. I mean, we already talked about it, but the glaring that's a different person after
Right.
9 years does I think it took away from it even while watching the movie. So I think we had to ding it down just because
Fair.
of that. So to me this was like a 3.5.
Okay.
It was like I
That
really
is
enjoyed it,
exactly.
you know,
Mhm.
but there were some issues that we can't
Yes.
overlook.
Yep.
That was exactly what I was going to say is a 3.5 because I really do love it. And like just visually, it was done so well. The repeated scenes and the
Mhm.
Yeah.
camera angles and just the little things. But yeah, that does take you out of it for a minute because you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, 3.5. That's where
Yeah.
I'm
I feel like any movie where you like all of a sudden realize you're watching a movie and you're questioning some of
Yes.
the decisions they
at.
made
Exactly.
is like,
Yeah.
that's you took me out of it.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I fully agree with everything that you both said. The only other comment or critique I would have would be that and I kind of already said this. I just wish there was a little bit more of the stuff that was intense the last half hour. I felt like I wished there was more. I wish they went a little deeper into some of those scenes
Mhm.
and some of those aspects because they were so good. And like that's a good critique to have because they were done so well and I loved them so much. I just wish there was more
Yes.
Mhm.
of that part. So but yeah, solid movie, wonderful recommendation. I
Yeah.
definitely think it's a must watch. The acting was amazing. The vibes were great. I'm going with a 3.25. Just a
Okay.
little below you
Mhm.
two, but
Yep, that's
I
fair.
really liked it.
I feel like
Mhm.
that's a very fair like rating. of
Agreed.
it. Mhm.
All right. Well, I know that we made fun of us because we don't know how to like line things up correctly with dates, but we are this time
Yes.
because next
Oh, I was
time-
worried. I was like, oh no, what did we do?
because next time we're going to watch the 1981 My Bloody Valentine.
Mhm.
Now there is a movie in the 2000s under the same title, but we're doing the 1981.
We're not doing the 3D
Yes.
movie.
Not the 3D.
Yeah. I mean, we might put that in our back pocket for later because we
Yeah.
haven't done a 3D movie yet.
That's
and I
true.
think
Yeah.
we're probably going to have that.
We love a theme, so we'll
Yes.
save it for another Valentine.
We
Yeah.
sure do. And we can make tiny 3D goggles for Ghosty.
Oh my God. Stop. I'm gonna order some right now.
So if you haven't seen that, oh wait, did I say why? Because it's going to be Valentine's Day. Duh.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
why. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be an early Valentine's
Yes,
Day.
we're
Mhm.
giving it to you before so you can prepare yourself for the
Mhm.
Yes.
romantic time in your life.
Yes.
So if
Mhm.
you haven't seen it, get watching and get sipping, and we'll see you next time on Spooky Sips.
Goodbye.
Okay,
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Spooky Sips. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. To stay up to date on all the spooky things we're up to, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at spookysips_podcast. And if you want to help support the podcast, consider buying us a coffee, or really a cocktail. We are completely independent, so every little bit goes a long way to keeping our podcast running and improving. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.